तुषारहार या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा।
Very warm good morning to one and all. A warm welcome to today's inaugural ceremony chief guest.
Good morning, sir.
Sandy Carter. She is Unstoppable Domains SVP and Channel Chief, Board, Culture Engineering, Chairman of Board, Girls in Tech, and Vice President, Amazon Web Services. Today's guest of honor, our own academic visionary leader, Professor M.P. Punia, Vice Chairman, AICT, and Chairman, CSTT. Respected coordinators of ATAL FDP and faculty members. It's indeed my proud privilege to welcome visionary academic leaders on one of the most promising flagship program of AICT, that is AICT Training and Learning Academy, ATAL. AICT's undivided focus for quality education and creating a complete ecosystem for quality teaching learning process. ATAL, yes, it's our highbrow gigantic flagship program for creating the ATAL fraternity. Yes, it's going to be a team of highly motivated academic leaders in our country. We in ATAL revisiting and revitalizing some of the areas where it has to look, considering that a lot of contemporary changes are happening at global and national level. I am happy to share that more than 7,000 subject experts are now being associated with our ATAL Academy. The importance of all emerging areas like AI, ML, blockchain, AR, VR, cybersecurity, etc. has been constantly growing, and the artificial knowledge-based industries have now occupied the center stage of development, not only in our country, but across the globe. We Indians are very fast learners. So due to COVID, there is a paradigm shift in our teaching learning process, in the pedagogy, the way in our higher education imparting instruction in classroom, laboratory, workshop has now changed. So now our ensuring education is highly cooperative, cross-institutional, multi-directional, multinational, interdisciplinary. So new emerging areas on which AICT is focusing on, which I have already mentioned, AI, ML, blockchain, cybersecurity, etc. For establishing the better convergence between the man and machine and explore the new pedagogy, we must adopt the new technological tool for effective delivery of instructions. Now our students will be equal partner in the new academic self-paced landscape of online learning. Yes, now in the national education policy, the medium instruction has been more focused. So our ensuring education will also take part in our regional languages. I am happy to share that we have completed almost 1,200 online faculty development program, and ATAL has also conferred as a World Book of Record for conducting largest number of online activities. I once again welcome you all for joining this event. And now it's time to make one announcement. Due to some urgent meeting, our vice chairman sir would not be able to join us. So I'm inviting today's chief guest, Sandy Carter, Unstoppable Domains SVP, Channel Partner, and Channel Chief, Board, Alter Engineering, Chairman of the Board, Girls in Tech, Vice President, Amazon Web Services.
And I am an SVP for Unstoppable Domains, a Web 3.0 crypto NFT company serving identities for Web 3.0, as well as an adjunct professor at Carnegie Mellon, Silicon Valley. It is my great honor to be here with you today, especially on this very special day that you guys are celebrating. So thank you so much for Dr. Amit for inviting me to come and just say a few words. So what I'd like to do is to spend the next couple of minutes talking about some of the trends that I'm seeing in the marketplace and some of the other areas that I think are really important for success as you move forward and basically any job that you decide to take. So I'd like to share a few slides with you, if I might, and kind of talk you through some of those trends that we do see on the horizon. So let me start first with my career journey into tech. I actually started out many years ago wanting to be an astronaut. Maybe that's every child's dream when they first begin. But I remember my dad taking me outside with a telescope so that we could look at the moon and we would imagine what it would be like to go there and to participate in discovery of great new things, being disruptive to what's happening around the world. Of course, as I moved into secondary education and then to college, I went to Duke University. And at that time, I decided I wanted to be a doctor. And why did I do that pivot? Well, I thought I wanted to be a doctor to help others, to really dive into giving back and really focusing on that purpose. It's funny, though, because you know how life takes different turns and twists. And as I was studying to be a doctor, it turns out that many of the smells that are in a hospital actually make me pass out. So that would not make me a great doctor. And I then discovered tech by accident. My advisor knew I was so disappointed about not being a doctor, but he was a dual head of computer science at Duke, as well as a head for our medical school. And so he turned me on to coding, to doing programming, so that I could do my senior thesis on how to test on computers instead of doing different testing on animals. And that's how my pursuit into tech began. It's kind of funny how everything pivots back to where you began, though, because most recently I'm an AWS or Amazon Web Services alumni. And I got to work with Maxar, one of our partners that delivered rover to Mars. And so I was actually helping with that journey to Mars through one of our partners in cloud technology. When I started wanting to be an astronaut, I actually helped to get some exploration done in Mars as well. Technology is definitely my first love. And I think every business today is a technology business and will continue to be a technology business. And that's why I think the careers that you've chosen today are so essential as you go forward, because regardless of the industry that you enter into or what you do for the rest of your life, the value of technology will always stay being very important. So what I'd like to do now is kind of turn to those new technologies that I think everyone should be learning. And then I just have a few minutes. So I'll just walk you through each of why I feel that those are the critical technologies as we move forward. So if you think about technology, there are, I think, 4 different technologies today that are top technologies that everyone should be learning. The first is IoT. Believe it or not, it has a huge opportunity that was really driven by COVID. With COVID, so many people turned to sensors and devices generating data instead of having people go out and generate, that data for them. And so we see that marketplace being huge, and the number of people that are really interested in that area will be continuing to grow, as well as the value that area brings. Now, IoT generates that data that then feeds into artificial intelligence and machine learning. And we believe that this is going to be another huge business, because artificial intelligence and machine learning helps with real-time decision making. And that's what we're seeing today, that every executive, every company is looking for. How can I improve my decision making? Gartner says that over 67% of the decisions in the last 2 years have become more complex, and therefore need tools, need more data, and need tools like artificial intelligence and machine learning in order to make them more successful. Two new areas that you're probably hearing about a lot: the metaverse and what's happening there using augmented reality, but really built on top of several core infrastructure technologies like blockchain and Web 3.0. And then, of course, blockchain is now exploded, which is one of the reasons that I've recently moved into a company called Unstoppable that focuses on identity for that metaverse, for Web 3.0, and for that blockchain world. So let me now take you through each of these and how we see this shaping out and why these are critical new technologies. So let's start first with Internet of Things. And this is really about putting sensors on everything that's out there today to generate more data. That data helps you to make better business decisions because it enables you to have all that data that you need, the quantity and the quality that you require in order to build the right set of learning models. So IoT is becoming more important because it gives you the right source of data, it gives you real-time data, and it really helps you to drive that data into a data lake so it can now be used very differently. We've seen data being used off of IT sensors from drones that circle the ocean looking for air temperature and water temperature to robots in hospitals in Latin America taking temperature, doing readings on your lung rate so that you can avoid having a person maybe do that first screening for COVID, for example. We're now seeing sensors in everything. And IDC tells us that since COVID, the use of IoT data has gone up by over 40% year over year because of the new needs in the marketplace. We're also seeing public and private partnerships around this data. So, for example, a city in Virginia who uses and leverages IoT sensors for flooding in the region has now partnered with the public community to gather data as well, coming in from cell phone technology. So the combination of IoT sensor data with that community data, public-private partnership, has really accelerated as well. So this is one of the reasons why I think all of us need to know about IoT devices, IoT sensors, and in particular, how to keep that secure, that data secure as well. Now, one of the reasons that IoT has become so very important is that machine learning is accelerating in our world today. And you can see machine learning being used everywhere to forecast sales data, to do fraud detection. We have many companies using machine learning to anticipate when a cybersecurity attack may or may not happen. It's also being used in cities around the world to better regulate water, traffic, public safety itself, to making sure that education is now leveraging the use of machine learning and as well as recruiting. But in order for machine learning to really do its job, you've got to have a strong data strategy. You got to have the right sources of data, the right quantity of data, and the right quality of data. And all that happens today with our first trend, which was IoT generating all of that data, really feeding into the use of machine learning. Now, machine learning, for me, has a lot of power in it. Not only does it now help you to optimize your business because it enables you to spot inefficiencies and to do much more sophisticated planning as you go, but that number one area we talked about, 91% of CEOs are looking for ways to make better decisions, do it smarter, do it faster. And the way that you do that is using AI and ML to ensure that you're anticipating, not just looking in the rear view mirror, but looking forward as well. We also know that product management and developing that right new product or making enhancements to a product that you have is also a crucial part of the future. And artificial intelligence can help you in that way too. It can help you with customer engagement, helps you to figure out what's really important in the next new product situation and really develop that deeper experience. And in particular, coming up with net new product ideas by correlating tens of thousands of customers' input to anticipate that next product area. I do think that product management really has an impact on companies. The company who has great product management can really win, and I think AI and ML gives you an extra boost and really helps you to have that bar-raising capability. And we're seeing the impact of AI and ML everywhere. So whether it is, automation of documents, think how many documents you have just in your government alone. And if you can do that automation in a smart way, not just automate, but do it in a smart way, how much more powerful artificial intelligence is. Think about COVID, where we had to move to a lot more remote learning. Remote learning is also crucial. And if you can customize that using artificial intelligence, how much more powerful that is. And then, of course, during COVID as well, cybersecurity attacks increased considerably throughout the world. And so finding and determining ahead of time potential fraud detection will also make a huge difference. So AI, I think, is a critical technology for everyone to learn. But now I'm going to enter kind of the next phase, this area that's called Web 3.0 or the metaverse. And I think the metaverse is really the future, and it's just starting today. So it's a great time to get involved in it. If you break down some of the technologies that are needed inside of the metaverse, we first start with that Web 3.0 layer. And what is Web 3.0 about? Well, if you think about it, Web 1.0 was about commerce, right? Making sure that you could conduct business on the web. Web 2.0 was then adding in not just a one-way communication, but a two-way communication with social media and ensuring that you've got the capability of doing two-way conversations. But that also introduced a whole set of centralization of data, which we talked about in the very first area, how important data is. Web 3.0 seeks to free that data. It's looking at decentralized access, meaning that the user, you or myself, is the one who controls that information. There's self-sovereignty. I get to value that data and sell that data when I want to. And this is why, again, I came to Unstoppable Domains, because we're working on logins to manage that decentralization of data, of information that enables you as a user to keep that information versus letting that information be owned by another company. Now, sitting on top of Web 3.0 is that blockchain crypto area. And why is that so important? Well, what blockchain then enables you to do, and we'll spend a section on blockchain too, it enables you to have that trusted communication. It really is an enabler for Web 3.0 so that you have the right ability and capability to validate information. So from a university perspective, think about validating that you've got your degree, validating that you've got your certain set of classes completed. Well, if that resides on the chain, on a blockchain, that information is validated, it's trusted, and it's private. So no longer would you have to go back to a university to get your records. You could easily then possess that information yourself and use that information when you need it to. It goes beyond just university information. You can think about healthcare information, social information, purchasing information, and the list goes on. Now, the next layer here is DIOs, or distributed ways to manage these communities. One of the most famous ones was here in the US, where one DIO is trying to by the US Constitution, so that would forever be owned by the people for the people. these are typically artificial driven dynamic governance models. And so it really puts, again, that power and control back with the group of people versus a company or a single entity. And then, of course, sitting on top of that is the metaverse itself, where that digital experience or that digital world exists. So you can think about, for example, Epic Games and their Unreal Engine. I know that Facebook has, entered into this space, creating an alternate universe using augmented reality and virtual reality to create a way to interface with all that great technology that sits underneath it. And then, of course, interfaces as well are changing inside the metaverse as well. Thinking about things versus speaking or having to text or type will become more important, and having human APIs, not just machine-driven APIs. Now, one of the critical elements of this metaverse economy is that it's a two-sided marketplace. You have created economics on the left-hand side. Think about things like NFTs, creating a gallery of NFTs, creating that multi-sided creators platform. And on the right-hand side, or the other side of the two-sided marketplace, are these digital networks. These are multi-sided consumption. Who buys those NFTs? Who leverages and who uses those as well? So as you can see, there's much excitement in the metaverse, and it's all going to be based on Web 3.0 as well as blockchain and crypto as well. This is, for me, where the future resides, which is why I joined Unstoppable Domains, because it does help in this area. But now let's investigate kind of what this is all based on, what is required here, which is the blockchain itself. So the blockchain is a trusted ledger. It enables that data to be trusted. It is, well, I'll talk here in a second about how it's got multi-levels of trust. It distributes the data as well, and it helps to solve a common business problem between multiple parties. And so you can imagine all kinds of things living on the blockchain. And in fact, we see that Gartner projects that most financial institutions will live on the blockchain, as well as a lot of retailers here very shortly coming up. And then this will move even further into multiple industries. So again, another hot topical area. Some of the keys for a great blockchain is a self-sovereign identity, meaning that the data and the information that's on the chain is not owned by a company, but is owned by an individual. Blockchain helps to decentralize finance. So instead of waiting for a bank to open on Monday morning, it's now decentralized. So transactions can occur at any moment of time. There now also exist these things called NFTs, and you've probably seen them popping up in the sports world with people like Adidas, who sold out of their NFTs in hours. Nike just produced NFTs. The Bond movie had the NFT for the 7 NFTs for their Bond ticket 007. These non-fungible tokens are digital pieces of art that are now trusted, that they are validated, that you own it because of the chain. And then, of course, this whole area of digital currency. I know this area is really hot inside of India. I just checked, and there are over 800,000 blockchain and Web 3.0 jobs open right now in India. So I know this area is really hot there as well. So as you think about all of these technologies, technology is really important, but the other thing that's really important as well is your leadership skills and how you leverage that technology to help make the world a better place. And so one of the things that I think a great leader does, especially moving forward, is acting like an open API. Now, you're all technologists, so you know an open API enables a company to share their knowledge and their subject matter expertise with other companies. Typically, other companies will pay for that knowledge. But I think a great leader in this century acts like an open API at all times. And I'll tell you one story, because I was actually headed to India, one of my favorite places to visit in the world. And I tweeted that I was headed over to India. Of course, for me, it was a 21-hour flight. And I landed, I went straight to the hotel. I was hoping to go straight to sleep. But when I arrived at the hotel, the general manager said to me, Sandy, a real big group of people are waiting for you. I had to move them into a ballroom. So I couldn't imagine who would be waiting for me at 11:30 p.m. at night after I had taken a 21-hour flight. And so I went and opened the door, and people were Bollywood dancing, having a great time. I knew that wasn't my team, so I went back to the general manager, and he said, no, that is the group that's waiting for you. I went back in the group, and I will never forget this day when Anil came running up to me. He was with the social media club in Mumbai, and he had seen my tweet, decided that he wanted to meet me. But not only did he want to meet me, he decided to invite the entire social media club. So by the time I arrived at 11:30 at night, there were already 150 people gathered together in that room to meet me. And so I had a decision to make. He had a projector set up in the middle of the room, wanted to hear some information at that time about Web 2.0 and social media. And so my decision was, do I say, look, I've got a meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I have to go to sleep, or do I say, no, I'm going to share my information. I'm going to act like an open API and help you out. Well, obviously, I chose to share information. And so from 11:30 p.m. at night till 2 a.m. in the morning, we had conversations about Web 2.0 and what was happening and where things were going. I'll never forget it because I acted like an open API. As I took meetings in India, everybody knew everybody. And I showed up for my first meeting, and the guy came to me and said, are you that crazy woman who went and stayed up till 2 a.m. with the social media club? My nephew is part of that, or my son's niece daughter is part of that. And so that was a reaction I got all over my trip to Mumbai that time. And in fact, when I got up to give my presentation, I got a standing ovation only after introducing myself, because the social media club of Mumbai was sitting over to my right-hand side. And once I introduced myself and thanked them, they stood up and gave me a standing ovation. So one of the things that I'm hoping that you guys will do is that you'll constantly give back to. It's one of the reasons that I'm recording this really late at night, because I care about you. And I want to act like an open API and share some of the knowledge that I have with you. My second big life lesson that I want to share with you is that I want you always to be curious about questions that get asked. And I want you to ask a lot of questions. And this really came through. A friend of mine is a professor at Stanford, and she was sharing through some of her research that found that the big innovators, the Jeff Bezos, the Stephen Jobs when he was alive, the Elon Musk, they ask thousands of questions a day. Same as kids, right? Young kids will ask, why is the sky blue? Why are there clouds in the sky? And so the innovators ask questions, whereas an average adult only asks 10 questions a day. So I want you to ask a lot of questions, because this is how you learn, and this is how you're curious. Because what you've been taught here today will last you for a time, but you're going to have to be continually learning. And the only way you can do that is if you are curious. So this is an example from my time at AWS. We were struggling with figuring out how we would get more data scientists and more machine learning experts. And of course, so we asked the question, how should we do this? The obvious answer is get more classes, right? And you can talk about how you want the classes to be done, who wants to teach them. But as we started asking more questions, we knew that we needed more than just classes. And we knew that we needed more people to be interested in this. And so as we dug deeper and deeper, we decided to create Deep Racer, which is this car here. This car is 1/18 the size of a real race car. It has IoT sensors that we talked about earlier all over it. It uses machine learning models that are reinforcement-based machine learning models. And we have fun with it. We have Deep Racer racing leagues, and you race and you can win prizes for racing around that track. It's a very powerful concept to get even more and more people to want to learn and understand about machine learning and AI. But we wouldn't have reached this point if we didn't ask more questions. We would have ended up just with standard classes. And by having this, we now have all female teams coming out of the Philippines. We have companies running deep racer leagues at their company with everywhere from senior executives, everywhere down to the programmers that work there as well. We've really disrupted and revolutionized the way you teach machine learning because we didn't stop at question one. We asked a lot of questions. And then my final lesson that I wanted to leave you with is that wherever you go, I want you to lead with a purpose. Having a purpose will make you feel as though you are living your best life. As you select your next job, as you select your next pursuit, what you want to do. Obviously, you want to help a company with their profit, but you also want to make sure that you're working on them with their purpose too. That purpose for me at AWS was public sector, helping out in public and private relationships. And my purpose now in Web 3.0 with Unstoppable is to make sure that we can decentralize information and take that power and give it back to the person to control their own data. As a Carnegie Mellon adjunct professor, I do that to give back to the next generation, to raise up the next generation, or being on the board of Girls in Tech, helping that next generation of women understand the power of STEM. So whatever you do, I want you to make sure that you're thinking about your goal and your purpose, because life is more than just technology. It's more than just making a profit. It really is about having purpose. You know, today, if you think about what's going on with COVID, companies like Forbes and Fortune are finding that those companies with a purpose, with a goal, and those employees who feel connected to that purpose are those that are having the highest retention rates as they move forward. And so I would just encourage you, whether you're, the CEO at a company or whether you're leading a development team, whatever you're doing, make sure that you're able to link that back to your purpose. So I want to end by saying thank you again for the honor for coming to share my insights with you today. I wish you all the greatest luck in the world. Remember some of those cool technologies, IoT, or to generate the data, AI and ML that can help you with real decision making. Metaverse that starts you in that Web 3.0 world based on blockchain, that trusted network that you need to ensure that you are certifying and validating the data that you are looking at is true and accurate. But don't just remember the technology. Also remember about leaving the world a better place, making sure that you're acting like an open API and you're sharing your information, even if it's inconvenient, even if it's at 2 a.m. Make sure that you are asking a gazillion questions, not just one or two getting to the obvious answer, but keep pushing, keep asking, because that's where the innovation occurs. And finally, make sure that you leave the world a better place. Act with a purpose, whether that purpose is changing a couple people's lives or millions of people's lives. Make sure that you have that purpose as well. Again, I'm so honored to be here today. I hope that you've gotten some insight. Best of luck, and let me know how I can help you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam, for your kind words and giving a comprehensive overview about the new emerging areas like metaverse economy, interfaces, metaverses, DAOs, blockchain, crypto, Web 3.0. Now it's time to say the thanks. Now I'd like to request our regional officer, Shri Sundaresan ji, to please propose vote of thanks.
Very good morning to one and all present here. The chief guest for today's function, Ms. Sandy Carter, Honorable Vice Chairman of AICT, my colleagues, Dr. Dattaji, Girdhar ji, and ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to be a part of this inauguration of 25 ATAL program. Madam Sandy Carter has said that having a purpose, this ATAL program, this 25 programs also has a purpose. This definitely I can say that is a visionary thought by our visionary leaders of AICT. And hopefully we can see this outcome of all these FDPs very shortly. And I feel that definitely it will have a greater impact on the student community. Having said this, I on behalf of AICT want to thank the today's chief guest, Ms. Sandy Carter, for sharing her thoughts and her experience, finding some time to spend for sharing it to AICT. Thank you, madam. And also my heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Vice Chairman of AICT, who has always been a source of inspiration, who is behind this concept of FDPs. Thank you, sir. And my colleagues, Dr. Dattaji and Girdalji, who are the backbone of ATAL. And thank you, Dattaji and Girdalji, for helping this entire society, education society, and for the building up the future of our country. Thank you. And also wish to thank all the participants as well as the coordinators for being here and for without whom this will not be a successful one. I'll request the participants to utilize maximum to the level rather than being just for a certificate purpose, rather than use this platform to enrich your knowledge so that you can transfer it to the next generation, that's the student community. In turn, that will build our nation. I once again thank everyone who are involved in this one. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sundarshanji. With the permission of the chief guest, we are concluding here the inaugural ceremony. Thank you for being with us. Have a nice day.